Thank you for joining me. Today we'll be talking about managed versus custom, the GenAI gambit. Let's get started. The presentation will consist of 4 parts, beginning with an introduction and background, followed by components to GenAI solutions. Then we will continue with managed versus custom. Last but not least, a demo overview of both a managed and a custom solution. So let's get started. Hello everyone, my name is Henry Carvajales and I'm excited to be here today. I am the founder and technologist behind Protocon, where we specialize in driving innovative solutions at the intersection of technology and transformation. Protocon is a registered entity in the System for Award Management, or SAM.gov. We are a certified service-disabled veteran-owned small business and veteran-owned small business enterprise through the state of Maryland, reflecting our commitment to excellence and service. I'm a proud graduate of University of Maryland College Park, and before we dive into the tech world, I am a Marine with 8 years of service where I cultivated the disciplined resilience that continued to shape my career. Professionally, I am a certified PMP, Scrum Master, and AI practitioner from AWS, which empowers me to lead projects, embrace agility, and harness cutting-edge AI solutions. With over a decade of experience in consulting from both federal and commercial sectors, I've had the opportunity to drive digital transformation, data analytics, and generative AI solutioning for a diverse range of organizations. Thank you for having me today, and I look forward to sharing more about my journey and insights. What are the main building blocks of a GenAI application? There are many components to take into consideration. It is not just having the right LLM or the right tool set, but more so thinking of the foundational concepts that build a strong foundation. Let's get into that. When it comes to the building blocks, there are 3 major pillars: core infrastructure and operations. In this pillar, you're worried about data, infrastructure, API, the thing that communicates between various applications, DevOps, and automation. The next is AI development and deployment, where you're talking about AI ML models, inference engines, monitoring and analytics, and ethical and responsible AI. The last pillar is user interactions and security, the thing that people or your customers and your employees will be using, in addition to the security and compliance that is wrapping around these applications to ensure that people are only seeing what they are allowed to see. Let's look at some of the example applications. Now, when it comes to products, there are just a plethora of options you have. Some fall under the core infrastructure, like your Snowflake, your Simple AI, and your major cloud providers like Microsoft Azure and AWS. Some have specialties where your AI development and deployments, think of your OpenAI, your API capabilities to connect to OpenAI models, Langsmith that helps to perform monitoring analytics against your models, or open source models like Llama model that is hosted in Hugging Face for you to be able to download and use in your own infrastructure. For user interaction and security, think of Streamlit, that chat interface we've all seen many times. But even not just that, a lot of applications today now include the ability to add their own version of an interface like Salesforce Lightning. For security, think of Active Directory in the form of how it is controlling who has access to what application and resource, ensuring that those checks and balances are in place, just to illustrate an example of a level of security and compliance. And so with these fundamental building blocks, as long as you're able to understand the main drivers of what they are best known for, you can build meaningful applications that can adapt to the ever-changing landscape and not having to rework the entire thing or chasing different products that may or may not be viable for your situation. One advice would be just sticking to what you already have, because you've already gone through those security checks with your IT shop, so that you're not there waiting longer to be able to have access to these new resources that come out in the future. Now, this brings into another situation, right? So do I use managed or custom services? And the typical answer will be depends. However, let's learn more about what these two mean and how they impact what you do in order to make that better informed decision. For managed service, it is more about having a third-party provider really manage the infrastructure, update your security patches and things of that nature. From there, what it's enabling you to do is, instead of managing those administrative technical tasks, your developers can more focus on the application aspect of your solution. We will look at a demo to kind of show you what that means. The alternative is doing custom. In the form of custom, it could mean on-prem and everything is your responsibilities, but at the same time, it's also leveraging the bare bone tool sets that are available in cloud environments. Take, for example, all your major cloud providers, your AWS, Azure, your GCP, and the marketplace that they have. From a marketplace perspective, that can kind of be referred to as managed service, right? Because you're not really building anything, you're just using the technology. But if you're not going to do that, then you can just use the cloud resources provided in those major cloud providers to build from scratch. The managed service is just the underlying infrastructure, but you're building on top based on the resources that are available. What are the key differences between the two? There are several factors from scalability. From a managed services, things can ramp up or ramp down depending on traffic. Unlike self-managed, it may be something you may need to configure on a day-to-day or on a defined schedule if you have better understanding of your usage in your infrastructure. Customization, from a managed perspective, you may be limited on what features you can add or take away versus a self-managed where it's free game. And I'll show you an example of that. Then setup and maintenance, as I said before, when it's managed service, all of that information is streamlined. Updating security patches is automatically done for you versus self-managed is everything is your responsibility. From a cost perspective, in the lens of GenAI, it could be pay as you go or a subscription-based model. You're also hearing things like token as a service where you're charged for every million tokens that you use. For a large organization, you may run through those token constraints a lot quicker than a smaller organization. From a self-managed perspective, you may have lower costs as you're be able to explicitly control access and usage, but you may have a higher initial investment starting out the gate. From a control perspective, you have less options in terms of infrastructure and implementation. You have to confine to the restrictions set by the managed service, whether that be just limits of what they can and cannot do or the type of database that they have. Versus being able to use another one. But from a self-managed solution, it's really up in the air for you to dictate that, from LLMs to your interface to your database and all the above. Even with the key differences, in order to determine whether you opt for a managed or a custom solution, it comes down to the people. Think about who will be maintaining this post-development. From a managed service perspective, it might be more viable if your team consists mostly of functional people. Technology today has really improved to where they've streamlined the process, developed enhanced graphical user interfaces to make it simple for you to ensure that you are in compliance with any security standards or ensuring that you're only giving people access that need to have access. From a self-managed service, think about the number of technical folks you may have in your team. If you are more technically heavy in terms of a team perspective, you may have more options to create really something that is unique to your organization. However, you still need to take into consideration, once you've developed your product, who will be maintaining that product post-development, post-deployment. Now, let's take a look at a few examples of a managed and custom solution just to give you an idea of what all this means. So here you're looking at AWS. You're going through the process of using Amazon Q for business, and it's just showing you a graphical user interface where you can go in, you have the ability to create a application from just following through the prompt. It will guide you through the process of what data do you want it to use, how often do you want it to be updated to include also the level of access that you want. So it's handling the process of you setting up these systems individually one at a time, all that wrapped in a simple to use interface. If you are not technical, it is more so you reading the documentation to kind of get a better understanding of what's going on. And then your final outcome will be a web hosted application that has a similar chat interface that you are then asking questions against a designated large language model, and you're generating your response. Now, in terms of what I was referring to, some of the key differences here, you may not have the flexibility to really make this more of a custom, unique experience, meaning your specific color palette or other features that you may want. Do know that this is from a few months ago, so many things may have changed. Expect technology, especially any GenAI technology, to change every 3 to 6 months. So that is a managed example where you don't need a person that is technically efficient to build and deploy a product. Now, what you're looking at is code outlining specific functions and features of an application that is relatively the same as to the managed service, but in this scenario, I have more flexibility. I can choose the type of models I want to leverage. In addition, I can define what are the things that people can and cannot see to enhance the user experience. So I have a lot of control in showing how a user may interact with my product. Then deploying it, this is the interface that you are going to see. I use an API key to reference a specific model, and this is using Groq. I'm not managing the inference locally. It is something that I am offsetting to somebody else. And what I would be managing is the hosting and the customization of the application. As you can see, I have way more control, way more features I can add. I am not confined to limitations of a managed service. Could these features be in a managed service? Yes, it can. Most specifically, I'm able to create different things that fill my need, right? So in this case, I have it so that if monitoring is a factor that you are looking for, I've built into the application where it can generate a specific data structure of the model I used, questions I asked, and the responses it generated. So then I can then feed it into another application that I can then conduct further analytics. So not needing to go to a different product, so to speak. Using a custom front application is not an option for you. A lot of the sites, for example, this one, Cloud Groq, give you what's called a playground. A lot of cloud providers give you a playground environment where you can test drive models, parameters, tokens, temperatures. Again, I'm not leveraging AWS in any shape or form. It's more so just using it for inference, where that is, I can better manage and control that because that is exactly what I need. So I am picking and choosing certain technologies that really work well for my organization. So there are a lot of options when it comes to managed and custom service. So definitely think about the people that will be using it. If you were looking at it managed and you don't have a technical team, I would question that notion. Well, with the technology you have, anybody can really reference documentation to get up and running, right? It's just you as a leader to provide assurance to your team that you're giving them leeway to learn and grow in this domain area. And with that, folks, thank you for joining me. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And until the next Lunch Bite series, take care and bye-bye.